Welcome back to Mustache Moto. It's Ben, and today is part two in our series for new motorcycle riders, beginning riders. If you remember, I'm doing this series for my son, who's a Marine. He lives 2,000 miles away. He's just getting into motorcycling, and I got a lot of stuff I want him to know to be a safer rider. So I'm sharing this with you too, so you can be a safer rider at the same time. Today, we're going to talk about tires. Obviously, tires are one of the most important parts of your motorcycle. You've got a small contact patch, maybe, about that big, maybe a little bigger, a little smaller, depending on the motorcycle. And that's the only thing that keeps you in contact with the ground. It's the only thing that allows you to accelerate, to brake, to turn without wrecking. So, obviously, really, really important. Um, Much smaller contact patch than on a car. And then you only have two tires, right? You got four on a car. If one of them goes out on a car, you're probably not going to be in much trouble. If you have a blowout on a motorcycle, you're probably really going to get hurt. So, how do you know if the tire's in good shape and you're ready for a ride? This one is takeoff from my motorcycle, so it's pretty well worn. I'm not sure how well you can see the tread on that video. I'll bring up another camera in a second. You can see pretty deep grooving on the sides, but it's pretty worn in the middle. And that's because I do, unfortunately, more interstate riding than I'd like, but that wears out the center of the tire. Before I show you the tire wear indicators, let me mention that motorcycle tires wear out way faster than car tires. You might get 40 or 50, 60, 70,000 miles out of a pair of car or a set of car tires. On the motorcycle, you're lucky to get, 8 or 10,000 is really pushing it for a rear. Some tires and bikes, you may only get 3 or 4,000. So they wear out a lot quicker, so you got to pay a lot more attention to them. They can also go from looking pretty good to being totally gone in the matter of one good long hard ride, especially if it's in the summer and it's hot outside. All right, so let me show you these tire wear indicators so you can tell if a tire is worn out. First off, most tires on the side somewhere will have, this focuses, there we go, some kind of an indication. This has a little Michelin man because it's Michelin's. Some have a little arrow, some say TWI, but that is where the tire wear indicator is if you go across the tire. See that little ridge of rubber in the valley? And there, and there. That's your tire wear indicator. When that's flush with the rubber on both sides, this tire is worn out. Those grooves are no longer deep enough to actively seep away or sipe away the water and keep you from hydroplaning and getting into an accident. Here's another one that's even worse. See how flat that is? So this tire is gone. It's worn out. Of course, some people wear their tires a lot more because they don't pay attention. If you ever see white or threads or belting, your tire's really shot and it's about on the verge of a major accident. I'll show you a couple other different types of tire wear indicators. All right, this is a Mitas Dual Sport. If you look right here, it says TWI, tire wear indicator. So we come up from there, and there it is. As you can see, it's really, look, I can get my whole finger under there. So this has a lot of rubber left to go. Of course, this is like a 60/40 or a 50/50 tire, so it started off with really deep blocks to begin with. The next most important thing to check on your motorcycle tires is the pressure you're running at. This is critically important because too high of a pressure and your tire won't give enough and your contact patch will be even smaller, and you risk a blowout. And then too low of a pressure, the contact patch will be too big, your tire will squish too much. When it squishes, it generates extra heat, and that could cause your tire to fail. The other part of that is your tire is going to wear out much faster if the pressure is low in it. Your pressures change, depending on the temperature. When it's cold out, your pressures are going to be lower. When it's hot, they're going to be higher. So you need to change them probably or check them at least once a week, and if not before every ride. And you want to check them when the tires are cold. That's the way they actually measure what the air should be. So, how do you know what pressure to run your tires at? Well, the good thing is every motorcycle somewhere on it, unless somebody removed it, is a sticker that tells the size and the pressure of the tire that the bike recommends. And you want to go with the manufacturer's recommendations. Sometimes they'll actually give two pressures, especially on the rear, one for riding solo and one for riding two up, because the more weight you've got, you need a little higher pressure to keep that tire in the proper shape. So on this BMW, it's way up in here. They decided to, I guess, keep the bike looking good, and they hid the dang sticker. Let's see if I can get in there and actually see. It's going to be too dark, I think. I'll take a photo of that. So I'll get a picture of it and I'll point out on it for you the tire size where it shows that and what pressures you're supposed to run. Most bikes, it's on the frame. It'll be on the frame somewhere, usually a lot more obvious of a position. So now that you know, well, I guess I should say, if for some reason you can't find that sticker, go online and just look at the owner's manual. Or if you have a copy of the owner's manual, it'll be in there. All right, now you got to check your tires then, right? So you can use just a simple pencil gauge. These are cheap. You should probably have one on your bike at all times. So you need to check it, if you're on a long trip, anything like that. Or when you do it at home, and I'll link this down below, I really prefer a nice, heavy, accurate, gauge with a bleed button on it. The reason the bleed button is key is you can just pump up more air than you need in the tire, and then you just let it out. That way you can get to the proper temperature without going back and forth between the using the gauge and putting air in and using the gauge and putting the air in. So let's see. So we'll put this on here. I'll push that in, and you can see I can let air out as I need to get it to the proper pressure. Another note on tire pressure. If you're out for a ride and your bike starts feeling heavy, kind of sluggish, just isn't quite responding the way it normally does, that's a really good sign that you might be getting a flat tire, that your pressure's gotten too low, and that tire's starting to deform. Don't ignore it. Pull over, check your tires, and make sure you're not getting a flat. One more thing when you're looking at your tires to look for is any cracking. This is an older scooter tire. See this cracking deep in the groove? That's a sign that this tire is dry rot and it needs to go. That tire could let loose at any time and just have a full blowout, which would be pretty catastrophic. One more thing I want to explain and show you on the tire is this tire size. So right here, printed on the sidewall, is also in the sticker on the frame of the bike. It says 170/60R17. So 170 is how many millimeters the tire is wide across the tread. 60 would be the height as a percentage of the width. And then R17 means it's a 17-inch radius tire. So these are very important numbers. Your bike calls for a very specific tire and a size, and you should stick to that. Last thing I want to talk about is the types of tires. And the first big bucket is tube or tubeless. Most modern bikes are tubeless, unless they have spokes, and even spoked wheels. Some of them are tubeless, some of them have a tube in them. So you need to figure out which one you need for your bike. Next is what type of tire you want or you can ride on your bike, and those range everywhere from a racing slick to a sport bike tire to a kind of sport touring tire to a touring tire to a knobby or a dual sport kind of tire. And what you want depends on your bike and how you intend to use it. So the first thing to look at is the sizes of tires that fit on your bike, and I pointed that out to you. So when you look for those, there's probably only a subset of those tires that would actually fit on your bike, and it depends on what your bike is kind of meant to do. So the super sport and the racing kind of tires, super duper grippy, might not be real good in the rain, and they're going to wear out quick because it's got that really soft, grippy rubber in it. And they're probably pretty expensive. So the sport touring tire, that's probably the most popular, and that combines a center rubber that's a lot harder and lasts longer, and then the side rubber is a lot more grippy. So when you turn in a canyon, you're not or a mountain, you're not sliding the tire, but you got that center part that's going to wear a lot longer. You know, if you're only going to be on the interstate or highways, you might want to go for just a touring tire. And then you've got the dual sport or adventure kind of tires like I put on the GS. This is, I think, a 70/30, 70% road, 30% off-road style tire. The front I showed you a minute ago, the Mitas is a 50/50 tire. And then you even have like 1090 tires that are 10% road, 90% dirt. They're basically a knobby, but they're DOT rated and you can ride them on the road. So figure out what you want to do on the bike and then look at what's available for the bike that you have. Now that you know about tires, check them, make sure they're safe, and get out there and ride.